Hello YouTube and welcome to Prime Productions. I'm here to help enhance your tabletop gaming experience. If you're new, I've been putting out a series of videos to get people up to speed on the lore of Starfinder in preparation for the release of Starfinder 2nd Edition, or the playtest at least. Starfinder is a tabletop role-playing game put out by Paizo, the same people that make Pathfinder. Both the second editions of Starfinder and Pathfinder will mostly use the same rule set, so the two should be cross-compatible. So far I've covered the basics, the major factions of Starfinder, and the 10 ancestries that will be in the core Starfinder 2nd Edition rulebook. Today we're going to go over the 6 classes that are in the rulebook, as well as a few notable absences, but that will be at the end. Before we get started, 2 things to go over. One is to remember what I just said, that Starfinder and Pathfinder should be cross-compatible. If none of these classes appeal to you, remember that you should still be able to play all of the classes from Pathfinder in Starfinder. Secondly, remember, this video was published before the playtest came out, so I don't have the actual rules. Instead, this will be a general overview of the classes. Firstly, let's start off with the Soldier. Soldiers, at least in the pre-playtest, are a constitution-based non-magical warrior. They have a subclass called a fighting style, which is evocative of how they fight, either focusing on armor, ranged attacks, or melee attacks. What they are not is the Starfinder fighter. Remember, if you want to play a fighter in Starfinder, play a fighter in Starfinder. The Soldier instead seems to specialize in area effect attacks, such as grenades, firing off automatic weapons, and sweeping area effect melee attacks that hit multiple opponents at once. Personally, I think Paizo wants the Soldier to feel like that scene from the first Predator movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger and his buddies destroy a forest. I think they want to be evocative of characters running around with heavy weaponry and just going hog wild. Next up is the Operative. Now, they did not get a pre-playtest release, but we did get to see the level 1 to 20 progression from PaizoCon. I actually did a whole video on this one image, link in the description below, but to recap, the Operative's primary attribute is Dexterity. They probably have a subclass called an Operative Specialization, but we don't know what those will look like yet. They seem to be a fast, lightly armored warrior like a spy or assassin. What they are not is the Starfinder Rogue. They actually seem to be a combination of a Pathfinder Gunslinger and a Pathfinder Investigator. They probably get up to legendary proficiency in guns, but also have an action that they can take to deal extra precision damage, which is kind of like an Investigator's Studied Strike. It seems that they're going to be a fast, mobile damage dealer in Starfinder. Their base chassis seems to support ranged combat, what with them being very good with guns and all, but Paizo has said that there will be melee build options. From what I understand, the Operative is designed to be something like John Preston from the movie Equilibrium. Lightly armored, good with guns, and has an option for melee combat. The Envoy is up next. They are a charisma-based, non-spellcasting class with 8 HP per level. Their subclass is called a leadership style, which exemplifies how they came to be a leader. The entire shtick of the Envoy is that they play the party cheerleader, giving benefits to the rest of the party and penalties to an enemy. Remember, the Envoy is not a spellcaster, so they are not a bard. Instead, they have these things called directives, where they can give their allies advice which imparts a small benefit. If they themselves then follow their own advice, the entire party gets a bigger benefit. For example, if they direct a party to get 'em an enemy, that enemy suffers a penalty to defenses. And then, if they attack that enemy, then all of their allies and them do bonus damage. In my opinion, a good example of an Envoy is Nick Fury from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Envoys can fight, but they aren't the best warriors in the galaxy. However, they make everyone around them better. Bridging the gap between the mundane and the mystical are Salarians. These are martial characters with a bit of the supernatural, though they don't have ranked spells like a typical spellcaster. It was revealed in a livestream that their primary attribute score is Strength, a change from Starfinder 1st Edition when it was Charisma. In a blog post, we learned that Salarian subclasses are called arrangements and involve being attuned to either light, gravity, or a balance between the two. This is because Salarians have studied the stars so much that they have learned how to emulate them, both the light they emit and the gravity that they have. Most iconically, Salarians can manifest a weapon of stellar energy to hit people with. New to Starfinder 2nd Edition, all Salarians can now manifest both a ranged and melee weapon, as well as a form of energy armor. If you're having trouble wrapping your head around Salarians, think of how a wizard studies arcane magic and then learns to cast arcane spells. In a similar way, Salarian studies the stars and then learns how to manipulate stellar energy. That's the best way I can describe it. Now, there are other ways to be a Salarian. Some are born with the ability, so it's a little nebulous, but that's the best description I have. A lot of people draw parallels between Salarians and monks, as both are pseudo-mystical warriors that don't need weapons to beat you up. But while you can make an entirely martial, non-mystical monk, the Salarian, it seems, will always have some sort of mystical star ability. In addition to solar weapons, Salarians can manipulate gravity to have a form of telekinesis, and at higher levels may even learn to teleport by generating their own wormholes. A lot of people like to compare Salarians to Jedi from Star Wars, and it's easy to see why. Energy weapons, telekinesis, etc. But while the results of the two may look similar, it is important to remember that the path there is different. Mystics are the first of the two spellcasting classes that will be in Starfinder 2nd Edition. Mystics are wisdom-based, spontaneous spellcasters. Their subclass is called a connection, and it determines a lot of stuff, including what spellcasting tradition a mystic uses. You see, mystics are characters that have an epiphany about some sort of force in the universe which allows them to manipulate that force, and this manipulation comes in the form of spellcasting. A lot of people are going to draw a comparison between mystics and clerics because both are good at healing, but the two are different. Mystics are great at healing a lot over a long period of time, whereas clerics can heal more quickly, but their healing isn't renewable. You see, mystics have a pool of points that regenerates over time. On their turn, a mystic can transfer any number of these points to another character to heal them for an equal number of hit points. And hey, the person receiving the healing gets a secondary benefit as well. Now, mystics can also heal using their spells too. This points from a pool thing is just an additional ability. So, they don't gain the free healing spells of a cleric, but they get a renewable pool of healing. If you're looking for a pop culture reference for a mystic, think Callum from the Netflix show The Dragon Prince. Minor spoiler warning, so skip to the timestamp you see on screen now if you don't want to be spoiled for the Dragon Prince 2nd season. In the 2nd season, Callum develops a deep and personal connection with the skies and air and learns how to cast the corresponding air magic. I think this is a decent representation of a mystic's connection and their corresponding spells. The last class in the core book will be Witchwarper. Unlike Starfinder 1st Edition, where their primary ability score was Charisma, in 2nd Edition, Witchwarpers will be an intelligence-based spellcaster. We don't know much about the Witchwarper. There wasn't a pre-playtest of them, and we haven't seen one played in the live streams, so we are going to have to do a bit of guesswork. What we do know for sure is that the 2nd Edition Witchwarper is a combination of the 1st Edition Witchwarper and the 1st Edition Precog. Essentially, a Witchwarper has become unmoored from reality in some way. They're either unmoored from the multiverse and able to peer into other realities or timelines, or they're unmoored from time, or maybe unmoored in some other way. This unmooring is the source of their spellcasting, and how they are unmoored will likely be their subclass as well. Some people might be tempted to compare a Witchwarper to a wizard or a witch, but I don't think that is the case, simply because Witchwarpers get their power in a vastly different way. We don't know too much about how Witchwarpers work. The only glimpse of them we got comes from an NPC interaction on a live stream and one blog post. We do know that they have an anchor that helps keep them tethered to their reality or their time or whatever, and that such anchors have some sort of mechanical benefit. Other than that, they are capable of creating an aura that lets them pull in fragments from other times or other realities or what have you. I think a great example of a witch warper in popular culture is Evelyn from Everything Everywhere All at Once. She is able to pull things in from other realities to help people towards the end of the movie, which is a pretty good example of witch warping, I'd say. Now, if you were a fan of Starfinder First Edition, you may be noticing a few missing character classes, namely the Mechanic and the Technomancer. Both of these were in the core rulebook for Starfinder First Edition, but are absent from Second Edition. Paizo actually addressed this at PaizoCon, and they have a reason why those aren't part of the core rulebook. They said Technomancers and Mechanics need a lot of technological items for their classes to work, similar to how Alchemists need a large number of alchemical items. And the Starfinder core rulebook just won't have enough items to make those classes fulfilling. Oh, they'll have tech items to be sure, but between the 6 classes, 10 ancestries, new rules for starship combat, new skills, new skill feats, new general feats, and new spells, there wasn't enough room to include a huge number of tech items, not without ballooning the Starfinder core rulebook to 500 plus pages like the old core rulebook. And a lot of newcomers have said they were intimidated by the size of the old rulebook, so Paizo is trying to keep sizes down. Anyway, this is a long way of saying that Paizo has decided to leave the Mechanic and Technomancer for a later expansion. There is good news, however. Like I've been saying this whole video, you should be able to play a Pathfinder class in Starfinder. So if you want to play something mechanic-like, just play an Inventor. Reflavor your Clockwork Companion as a drone. If you want to play something Technomancer-like, play a Wizard and grab all the new technology-based arcane spells. Will it be the same? No, but it should be close enough to tide you over. But what do you think? Do any of these classes interest you? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're leaving a comment, make sure to like and subscribe. That tells not only me, but also YouTube that you like this kind of content and would like to see more. And until next time, thank you, good luck, and happy gaming!